One. Hello and welcome to the Women's Cave. Wow.
Yeah, I'm really not doing it now right now. I'm just like, I don't feel the gusto.
You don't feel the reason to beat me out? It's probably because I've been like putting so much carbs on your plate because I've just been baking so much. You're probably like, I'm content with my life right now. I've had this yellow cake with chocolate icing. Oh, caramel chocolate icing.
Chocolate caramel icing.
Mm-hmm.
I got up last night at like midnight and ate 3 slices.
No, not midnight. Oh,
this is why I look much whiter on the side of the camera.
I think we all do because gyms have been closed for like a month, and all we've been doing is trying to like power walk. And we're like, come on, power walking still works. It doesn't work as quickly as the weight machine. Just FYI, but walking is overall good for you. So I enjoyed my 30 minutes of exercise today.
It works.
I'm Jade.
Oh, and I will know. Hey, good job, Ebola Elbow.
Yes.
We're trying to do the social distance thing.
I know. We did try, and yes, for everyone that's concerned out there, we like not a month, about 3 or 4 weeks, 3.5 weeks ago, we decided, you know what, we have too much stuff to do, so we're gonna crash at one central house, and that's how we have done it. So we are social distancing. It's just simply that we chose to do it together when it first began.
Yep.
Which is really fun because now we can play cards and rummy and all that good stuff. We have 4 people.
That makes perfect medical sense.
Well, I mean, when it first began, they were like social distance. We were like, okay, I think it's gonna come down to stay at home. So let's just choose a home and we'll just stay there. And that way we can like pool all of our like resources, and I can bake and she can fry things, which is fabulous because I don't fry things.
We can get down to the actual business of things.
So you can just check out everything your ladies are doing on www.andwethought.com. And y'all on here, so I'm not gonna say them because I have a long intro. So y'all aren't here to hear about me ramble on about my baking and her cooking. You're here to hear about our wonderful guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'd be happy to. First, thank you for asking me to participate. My name is Tim Tomlinson. I'm with a couple of organizations. I'm the co-founder of New York Writers Workshop, which is a not-for-profit designed to cultivate voices all around the 5 boroughs and actually around the world. I'll tell you a little bit about that when we go forward. I'm a writer of fiction and poetry. And I'm a professor at New York University in the Global Liberal Studies program, which is really where I was first introduced to Zoom, because we've gone online with all our classes. So some of the technical glitches and obstacles that you guys face, I'm facing twice a week. So I'm completely sympathetic to all sorts of technical problems.
Oh,
yeah, it's been happening more.
Technology only messes up when you need it to.
Right, and it's been happening more and more now because everybody's learning Zoom. So my question to you is, first of all, I'm so glad you're a fellow poet because that's amazing.
Yeah,
May
I say something here? What? I feel like, seriously, like, we shouldn't be interviewing him. He said he's a professor at, like, NYU, and he's a poet. Like, I feel like it should be the opposite of way.
Well, as long as he never reads any of our work, it'll be fine. Yeah. It'll be fine. He'll still like us. He'll be like,
I'd love to read your work. That's what we're here for.
So, okay, you have so many things going on. How do you balance?
Well, in our pre-formal discussion, we were talking about what's life like now under the lockdown, and I'm managing actually to be much more productive under the lockdown than I was when all these other obligations were taking me to one place or another. I move around from one obligation to another, and it always feels as if I'm arriving at exactly the last final moment to do whatever it is must be done. So it's like putting out brush fires in many cases. With the lockdown, I feel like I'm actually getting ahead, so I have time at the end of the day to sit down and fall asleep in front of Netflix.
Yeah.
And it's so wonderful, y'all. I'm not even gonna lie. Falling asleep in front of Netflix is beautiful. It's a beautiful
And not
thing.
feeling guilty.
Right, because you could have been doing
Exactly.
something else.
Exactly. So you said that you were, did you say co-founder of the New York Writers?
Yeah. The
So how did
the organization started back in the year 2000. This is when we formed. The nucleus of the organization came out of another situation at a Upper West Side Manhattan school. But because things were going a little bit dicey up there, we decided to form our own organization. And then, we actually gave our very first workshops the week of 9/11. 9/11 is actually our inception, right? Can you imagine? So we were kind of born in turmoil, and now we're in it again in a different kind. Back then, we had quite a few founding members who were working on one thing or another. Little by little, the organization became more formalized, more, I don't want to say corporate, but we did incorporate. We're now a not-for-profit 501c3 with a lot of obligations in that regard. But it's now, in terms of management, it's dwindled down to a nucleus of, I would say, 4 or 5 doing most of the work, but with a faculty of 45 or 50. We obviously, we've suspended all workshops and all readings for however long is going to be necessary. So we do work online. You can find us at newyorkwritersworkshop.com, and we have some really wonderful online programs. I'm doing one right now. From that initial 11, we grew to the current membership, which is around 50. It goes up and down every year whenever we collect dues.
Oh yeah.
No.
Hey, yeah. But when it's due time, then you know really who's the new group.
There you go. There you go. Some come and some go.
Yeah. So okay, you have your own book.
Let's talk about them.
Yes. So what is your writing process?
My
For
writing
fiction?
process?
Oh,
Yeah. The first book I published of my own work is called Yolanda, An Oral History in Verse. And this was field work, really. I went over to the Philippines shortly after the super typhoon. And my wife is from the Philippines, so she was very helpful in the field, especially because we needed to talk to a lot of people whose English was either heavily accented or grammatically difficult for me to peel through. But we recorded all our interviews with people who had survived the typhoon. I don't know if you know about this, but over 10,000 people were killed on the island of Leyte, which is where we were. And then I took their accounts and shaped those into poems. So my first book is actually somebody else's words. I took the interviews and reconfigured them into a sequence of poems. My second book was all, bless you.
thank you.
The second book was poems, Requiem for the Tree Fort I Set on Fire. Third book, short stories called This Is Not Happening to You. I think I sent you the link to that one. Those two actually right now are available for free on Amazon. The publisher has made a bunch of her titles free, I think up until today. What are we? Yeah, up until tomorrow. So on Amazon.com, you can find This Is Not Happening to You and Requiem for the Tree Fort I Set on Fire, both for free for one more day.
Nice. Oh, so I was gonna put you, coming up on April the 11th or something, your interview. So now you come out today.
Come out today, yeah.
I feel like our free book can move you up the list.
Great.
I mean, we all need it. I read everything, so I've been just.
And it's always good to read real poetry.
Yeah.
They call our poetry pop
poetry. We write pop poetry.
Oh.
Real poetry. I'm gonna.
Well, so you're making the real money.
I don't know if we're saying a real money.
I've been told by many a professor, the money does not mean that you're good.
No.
I'm going to cling to that.
Huh?
I'm going to cling to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% say it. Pop poetry, not all pop artists can really sing very well. So,
Yeah.
But they make money, so that's exciting.
Yes. Anyway, so no, I'm gonna just say on the end of that, I always told my professor, I was like, I prefer to have the money than the acclaim any day, because I can't spend the acclaim.
She's joking. Okay. She's joking.
Oh my goodness, yes I am. So okay, you do fiction and poetry. So how do you kind of switch your brain? Because poetry sometimes can be short. More when I write it, it's short. So
pop poetry.
Yeah. So and then you have fiction, which is like a full-on like novel or short story. How do you just switch your brain around to do those?
One thing that happens to me quite often, and you probably have the same experience, if you have something that you have to get done, you do something else, right? So if I have to finish a story, I start writing poetry, and vice versa. It's a way to escape the burden of anxiety with the one, and then I find myself having fun and actually doing well with the other. So I stick with that for a while. That's one kind of crazy default process that I wish I didn't have, but I have. And a lot of it has to do with what I'm reading. So if I'm and that connects to what I'm teaching. So if I'm working on short fiction with my students, I'll be reading a lot of short fiction, and something will trigger an idea, and I'll go straight to my own work. If I'm doing poetry, I might be more inclined to write poems, but it really goes kind of back and forth. I have some new work in an anthology that was a celebration of an old record album by the Beach Boys called Pet Sounds. So there's a series of poetry anthologies that address one album. So the obstacle there was to come up with poems based in one way or another, however the poet felt it, on songs from that particular record. So that was kind of like writing to an assignment, which is something that I don't often do. And I have stories out right now in an anthology called A Feast of Narrative, and that is a collection of Italian American authors. I'm Italian. I'm half Italian. Most Italians are astonished to learn that. And my stories in this collection, I have two, both address kind of growing up as an Italian American with whatever that meant back a century ago.
I'm sorry, you said I'm Italian, and I woke up this morning thinking about lasagna and manicotti and how I couldn't. So now I'm a little jealous. Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so I wanted to ask one more question. I know Jade is like, you're already out of time.
No, I had a question.
Oh, Jade, go for it.
So what advice would you give, 3.3 pieces of advice would you give like, oh my goodness, my new author. So,
a new author.
Yeah.
What 3 pieces of advice would you give?
I had a better word for that, and it just went.
What advice would I give a new author? Well, part of it would have to do with where they are in terms of getting their work out. One thing I always say is never give up. Damn the torpedoes. You want to find people who say yes to your work, not no to your work. And a lot of people say, no, you can't do this, you can't do this. You can pretty much do everything as long as you keep the reader on the page. That's the most important thing. And then the other thing that I think is super important is to develop the habit of sending your work out, because your friends or your colleagues in a workshop or in a class, they're a useful resource, but the best feedback you can get is, yes, I want to publish this, from an editor. And you don't hear that very often. So you also need to learn that something for one reason or another is not working with X number of editors. So never give up, find people who say yes, and get the work out on a regular basis.
Okay, I love it.
I feel like we should wrap up now. I don't even think I could ask the next question.
So we're gonna wrap up. So where can people find your book, find more about you online?
my website, timtomlinson.org. You know what, that was kind of hit with some kind of a plug-in glitch that I only figured out about 7 days ago. So there is some current information up there, but I'm way behind on all the posts that I used to make. But timtomlinson.org, newyorkwritersworkshop.com. That gives a regular update on what the organization is doing. One thing that I wanted to mention this, one thing that we have planned is a conference in Kathmandu in January. We did a conference in the island of Sardinia in Italy this January. We had 32 writers and 6 faculty. It was phenomenal, a fantastic experience with a couple of glitches that we learned from. So the next one is going to be in Nepal in January 2021, if things get anything back to like normal. So right now we have our bookings, we have people registering, but you know, it's really, nobody knows what the hell's going to happen. And my books, I think the best place to go is Amazon, because if you read electronically, they're free now and they're cheap when they're not free. And then you can also order the books themselves.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on.
I feel privileged as someone
I know.
who taught at NYU.
I know.
Like, oh, come on and talk to
I
you.
know. I feel like maybe.
I feel elevated.
I know. Maybe we'll get out of like pop and maybe we'll go to like folk or something. It will be amazing.
Oh, look at folk poetry.
Folk
Yes.
poetry.
We
So
have
maybe
to.
we'll do it. So thank you so much for joining us today. And you can find out everything your ladies are doing, including their books, on www.annrethorpe.com or Barnes & Noble or Amazon. And
wait, since this is coming out today, also check us out as faculty on the Las Vegas Writers Conference.
That would be really awesome too. Just remember that wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Winona
and Jade. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.